Hey friends, so if you have ever been dumped by someone you were in a relationship with, whether it be a friend or something else, and it seemed to come out of literally nowhere, there's something you should know, and this message is for you. I'm just gonna come right out the gate with the truth. People who are emotionally safe, mentally healthy, loving individuals do not just discard other people, especially ones that they claim to care about. People who are emotionally safe also don't ghost people they were in romantic relationships with. This is 100% absolutely not normal. And if this happened to you, I'm sorry. Now, before I go any further, I do want to make one thing clear. Are there times when you must go no contact with someone because they acted in a way that was deeply hurtful and staying away from them completely is what's best for you? Yes. Are there times when someone has betrayed you in a way that feels like you just can't come back from it, and as such, you have to stop communicating with them because it is not mentally healthy for you to continue to do so? Also yes. Those are not discards, friends. Those are acts of self-preservation. There is a big difference, and it's important to understand that. Whataboutisms do not apply in these situations. Someone choosing not to be connected to you anymore as a reaction of something that you did is absolutely not the same as a discard. Just wanted to make sure we are absolutely clear on that before we continue. Anyway, onward we go. So, look, sometimes breakups happen. Things don't work out, you grow apart, etc., and so on. And when I say breakups, by the way, this can definitely apply to friend breakups too, because honestly, sometimes those can be just as painful, if not more so, than the breakup of a romantic relationship. But there is a difference between a normal breakup and a discard. Actually, there are several differences. A normal breakup is usually not a huge surprise to any parties involved. It is a slow process, and it feels a lot more mutual. Sometimes you will have one person who wants to try to fix things and repair the relationship. Sometimes the other person doesn't want that. Sometimes neither person does. But either way, some kind of conversation takes place that things are not okay between you. Even before that conversation takes place, there were probably a lot of indicators that a split was coming. Some writing on the wall, if you will. That can include things like tension, arguments, spending less time with each other, less intimacy, less healthy communication, less togetherness overall, I guess you could say. Sometimes there will be defining moments that you might not see immediately, but later become very clear that something was just not quite right. Regardless of the situation, it is generally something that doesn't just come hit you on a random day out of the blue without warning. You know, and it's not a complete shock. A discard doesn't work like this. It is one-sided. It usually happens abruptly and feels like it's truly out of nowhere. Here you are thinking that everything is fine, the relationship is stable, the other person might even have given you some words of affirmation or reassurance shortly before that discard that added to that feeling that everything was going just well and fine. Then, suddenly, the rug gets pulled right out from under you, and the person tells you they no longer want to be in this relationship with you. And you are left absolutely blindsided. You feel devastated and crushed emotionally because, again, remember, you thought everything was fine, and there were no real indicators going on that would have led you to think otherwise. So, you feel like your reality has just been upturned, like you have been thrown out like a bag of trash. Like you didn't even really matter to this person at all. I mean, if you did matter, would they have acted this way? Just tossed you aside like just a discarded item? Feeling like this is certainly not fun or pleasant, but it is unfortunately normal when you have been discarded. And while it certainly does not feel like you can overcome those feelings when they first happen, you can heal from it completely and repair your sense of trust and self-esteem and your self-worth, all which definitely take a hit when this happens. Now, there are generally two types of people who are best known for discarding others. One is a narcissist. That is a complicated topic which, due to popular demand, we will be discussing at a later date in a 3-part video series. That is in production right now and will be released soon, so stay tuned. The other type of person is someone who has an avoidant attachment style, which we have not yet talked about much yet on this channel, but we will. For the time being, the basic definition of an avoidant is someone who, as the name implies, avoids intimacy on most levels that goes beyond superficial, shallow connections. Their conversations will often be surface level. When it's time to have a serious emotional conversation, they will generally try to avoid it, no pun intended, or turn it around, making a little jokey joke about it. Whenever things in a relationship start to get more serious or deeper, which is perfectly normal, by the way, the avoidant will be triggered into thinking that being emotionally close to someone is threatening, because it will either A, make them lose their independence or autonomy, or B, cause them to self-examine things that have made them avoidant in the first place. Instead of figuring out what makes them so afraid of a deep, meaningful bond with another person, they run, either literally or figuratively. Regardless of which type of person the discarder is, having one of these reasons doesn't really help ease the pain that the person who is being discarded feels. It also isn't an excuse. What it is a sign of emotional immaturity and an inability to effectively communicate. When you are a victim of this, it can be very difficult to feel like you are somehow not responsible for what happened. But friends, it is absolutely critical to remember that this is about them, not you. So getting yourself out of the mindset that it's your fault is something that you must do in order to move on. And don't wait for closure. I've said this before in several videos, but closure is a myth. Other people do not really give that to you, even though we often seek it anyway, and it ends up being a crutch that impedes your healing. Ask me how I know. I'll just tell you. I was very guilty of trying to find closure in some situations in the past, and in the search for it, I only ended up with more pain and heartache. It was a very difficult lesson for me to learn, but I think at this juncture, I finally understand that the only person who can ever truly give you closure is you. So at this point in the video, you might be wondering, okay, I agree, discards suck, but how do I heal and move forward? And how do I avoid this happening again? Let's talk about that for a moment. First, allow yourself to grieve. Feel your feelings. And I know, that's hard. It can feel like you are going through an emotional ringer. But believe me, the more you allow yourself to feel, the faster you will heal. Feelings are funny that way. You can try very hard to put them away somewhere or avoid them, but they always come back. Always. Until you have processed them. And look, let's be honest. Some things, they don't completely heal ever. Some wounds leave scars. But the more you seek to understand those feelings and let go the things that are associated with them, like resentment, etc., the better equipped you will be to handle them when you have one of those bad days that will come to the surface, and they will, whether you want them to or not. Second, remember how I said a couple of minutes ago that you need to abandon the thought that this was your fault? Yeah, do that. Look, if you have been discarded, and especially if you have been replaced by someone new, it is perfectly natural for you to question, why? Why weren't you good enough? Why weren't you as good or desirable as that other person? Let me let you in on a secret. That new person is not better than you. They're just different. And chances are high that the BS the discarder pulled with you, they're going to pull it with them too. It might be sooner or it might be later. It might be in a slightly different way, but that doesn't really matter because people who discard will usually do it again. It's their pattern, and it's not your fault. Remember, not better, Not more attractive, not more successful, not more anything, just different. And by different, I also secretly mean unaware of the discarder's nonsense, at least for the time being. Third, transfer responsibility. It isn't yours anyway. Put it back where it truly belongs. You weren't the one who emotionally destroyed someone else. They are, and that is going to be their guilt to carry. Fourth, set up firm boundaries. If you are used to accepting half-assed, low or no effort people in your relationships, there has never been a better time than right now to stop that right in its tracks. Make a commitment to yourself that you will no longer accept emotionally immature behavior like the silent treatment, refusing to talk about problems or issues or find solutions is no longer okay, and disrespecting you and your feelings is an absolute deal breaker. Doing this is more a power move after a discard, and it's one that you really need to master so that your next relationship doesn't even try to do these things. And fifth, last but definitely not least, do not discard or abandon yourself. That is really, really important. Love yourself and be there for yourself unconditionally. Working through that experience and putting in good self-care practices will help you so much and in so many ways, including how to see signs that something is not right, and perhaps, most important of all, how not to project those past experiences into any of your new relationships. That's all I've got for you this week. I'll be back next week with another priority message. Until then, take good care of yourselves. Bye.